All right, everybody, we are back. Round two, lesson two with our man Mike from Carl's up in Wisconsin, doing an online lesson, trying to take this slicer who doesn't have a ton of distance to someone that might even hit a draw and gain quite a bit of distance. Let's jump into it. What's going on, everybody? Scott Oden coming at you. We are here, we're in the studio. So today, again, we are going to continue our series working with Mike from Carl's Golf up in Wisconsin. They are the people that do the enclosures, and they are great people to talk to about simulators. I'm actually talking to them about a current project that we have going on, and they have great advice. So I'd highly recommend you go talk to them if you have any questions about how to set up a space, which launch monitor to get, all of that good stuff. But in this series, what I want to do is help you understand how we go through and work with your prototypical slicer here. So let's jump in. Mike has sent an update. It's been about a month, and so he has some things that he can report on, which have been good. So a couple of things that we've seen. If you remember from our first lesson, we had Mike work a lot on his grip. He has a very weak grip, especially with his trail hand. So that's his right hand as a right-handed player. He gets the club very, very weak. So when he goes up, that club face is super open. And then he has to do a bunch of things to basically accommodate that. So one being, he's going to go over the top, try to get that path swinging to the left in a way that's going to kind of maybe hopefully shift his face to the left a little bit. But what it ends up creating is, because your face is still open to that path, you're going to get a slice. So we wanted Mike working really, really hard on his grip. And then we also wanted, once he had his grip, to start working on getting the club to go back in a more closed setting. So we're going to take a look at what he's got and how he has done. A couple of things he's reported back. He has gained a ton of yardage, which is good. He is going to see, if you get that face more square or in a more square or closed position compared to being wide open, you will have less loft on your irons, and you are going to be able to hit the ball a little bit more square. The other thing is, because his club path is actually swinging from out to in, the club face is actually matching up with that club path. So you're going to put less side spin on the golf ball, which makes it travel farther. Even though what we should see is that ball go left, he should be hitting it kind of straight left at this point. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's jump in. We've got his swings pulled up. All right, so you can see he's hitting here. He's got it on the GC Hawk. Looks really sweet. You can see right off the bat, kind of illustrating a point that I talked about. You can look at his backspin number on some of his shots, 41 to the right. So essentially, I would call that a very straight ball flight. Still a tiny bit of a fade bias, but you can see that ball is not spinning side spin, right? He's not side spinning the ball very much. So he's going to see that ball traveling farther. And he's also hitting the ball with his clubs. He's hitting it about 125 yards, which before he was kind of closer to 100 with his pitching wedge, which is what he told me he is hitting here. So let's go ahead. Let's check out first. We got to take a look at his grip. So already better. That trail hand before, if you remember, his trail hand, he'd have this little V in his trail hand. That was actually pointing more like over at his left shoulder. Now he's got it pointing more kind of at his left eye, and his body is tilted here a little bit, so his head is behind the ball. So that's not too bad. Now, I think I would actually like to see him even get it a touch stronger, especially with his lead hand, because I don't think his lead hand here, and it's a little hard to see with a black glove, but his lead hand hasn't quite matched up a little bit as we go. Okay, so I'm thinking we're still going to see a little bit of a closed face, but it's definitely better than where it was. So right off the bat, if we start looking at what I want to see Mike doing here, just continuing with the grip. And again, grip is so hard to get at first because it is so awkward to change. So you have to have a system that's going to help you get where you need to go. So if I have Mike hold this club up right in front of him, just like this, he's going to see the club is in his fingers. His back of his left hand is going to be flat. What I want to see from Mike is, if he takes the club face, just twist it so it is pointing away from him, and then grip the golf club. What he'll see is, I want to see Mike's grip pretty strong right now. All right, we can always adjust it a little bit later, but I want to see the V on his hand pointing well at this right shoulder. So I want him to continue taking the grip even farther, okay? Even though it's better, I still think we can't let it go just yet. And that's important. Once you think, oh, hey, I've done something and I got it, and then I'm never thinking about it again, you got to make sure you're staying on top of things. It should get easier, but you still have to keep checking things so you don't go back to where you were. It's very easy to slide back into old habits as you go. Okay, so let's jump back in. Let's take a look at the motion. I like Mike's setup. I like his ball position. I tend to like playing the ball in one spot. Ball in the frontish part of the stance. Believe it or not, it actually makes it easier not to chunk the ball when you get the ball in the front of the stance, because you can move a little bit more dynamically and you're not going to hit down on the ball as much. I know that's one of those backwards things in golf, but it is true. You can actually get your low point moving more forward as if the ball's a little bit more towards the front side of the stance. Even on a short iron. Now your short iron, he's got it at his left shoulder-ish or so. His stance a little on the wide side, but it's not the widest I've ever seen, but he could definitely narrow this stance up just a fraction for a short iron. He's kind of got a stance, if we were to draw some lines up here, I'd say he's got a driver stance right now for a short iron. It's just going to get you kind of stuck in mud where you're kind of bracing for this big, huge swing that you're not really going to make, and it doesn't let you, the wider your stance gets, you can't move as much. You can't really shift your weight. So with a short iron where we want to kind of really shift forward and drive down on that thing, you're not going to really be able to do that, okay? So just a little bit narrow on the stance, but again, two little setup things. I like his setup, how he tilts a little bit away from the ball, but let's just keep strengthening that grip, and let's get that stance just a little bit narrower as we go. So let's put the swing in motion. He definitely makes turn in his swing, okay? You can see how his back is facing the target here, so that's good. Now, let's go up. I can see that club face right here. It's looking pretty much straight at the camera. I'm expecting this club face to be open still, and again, that's a little bit of the grip. Yeah, it's definitely open up here, still at the top. You would want those two lines right here. These two lines should match. The top line is just me putting an angle on the club face, the other one putting it on his wrist. We're still not matching. We are actually closer. If you remember where he was when we did this before, I mean, his club face was like over here somewhere. So let's get you a look at that here. So his old club face was like this. It was really open, so it has gotten closed a little bit more. That's why he's seen some of the benefits of what he's able to do, okay? That's why he's seeing the ball fly farther and not slicing as much, okay? Now, as he goes, if he gets that strengthened, what we'll actually be able to see is we can actually work on his club path, okay? We could work on his club path. So right now, what we're probably seeing here is we're seeing a fairly squared up club path. It's going to be actually pointing a little bit to the left. So as we look at him, this golf ball is starting left. So from a numbers standpoint, it's starting left of straight ahead. So he's probably at like -2, -3 on his club face. So 2 or 3 to the left. Let's take a look at the flight here. You can see that ball even went a little farther. 135, but you can see he still has a club path. His face is closed at impact. Now, part of that is you're going to watch, see how he's going to cast here a little bit. You're going to see this club, his arm and the club, we're going to kind of have to throw it at the bottom here. We can't really lead with our hands. You're going to see this club kind of pass his hands early. That's not a bad thing that the club passes, but it's just happening too early, and he has to do that because he's trying to get the club face to square up. So that's going to be just kind of an issue where he's actually leaving more distance on the table because he actually is hitting the ball really high, because when you're doing that flip move, you're adding loft as he hits it. The other thing that'll happen is you can see here his numbers, his side spin on that one went up. So he's still hitting a fade. It's a good amount of fade for a short iron. That's a good amount, I would say. Where if his club face is closed because the ball is starting left, his path has to be something like 5, 6, 7 to the left. And that's just going to be too much. When you get to bigger clubs, it's probably going to get even bigger. If you remember, we talk about the driver. If you're hitting a short iron with a club path that is that far left, when you get to a longer club, a driver or a 3-wood, it's going to be much more left. And that's because of ball position and where you catch the ball on the swing arc. If you're not familiar with how that works, we have a video we talk about that. I'll link that up here in the cards. But you need to make sure, at least for a short iron, we got to take some of this side spin off, okay? So he's going to have to get that club face still working on it, but here's what I would want to see Mike working on in his swing. So he has that club path traveling too far to the left. So what's happening he's getting up here, face is a little open. He's coming down. You can see the club isn't too bad from this angle. It's coming down, you know, kind of on that on-plane move that we like to see, but he's adding loft and his body has to kind of fight through, where if you pay attention to his lead arm, it's opening up and it's pointing left as he's going through to hit the ball. And he's getting this loft that's adding into the hit. So what I would want to see Mike working on, and this is going to be kind of requisite that he does the grip first. It won't work if he doesn't do the grip. And you're going to see why it's so important to get the club face under control, whether you have a better grip or you just work on controlling the face. Because what I would like to see Mike working on is, we want to take some of that right spin off the ball. So what I would have Mike do is, we're going to work on, instead of just pulling our arms back behind us and then coming down and kind of opening up our body where our arm is pointing left, what I want Mike to do is, I want to kind of reverse that loop. I want to go up, come down, so my arm feels like it's pointing out to the right. So I've got a stick here on the ground. I want to feel like my arm is traveling out to the right of this stick, okay? So what I would have Mike do is, we're going to do this little drill. All he's going to do is, he's going to bring the club at address. He's just going to lift his arms straight up. He's not going to stand up. He's just going to lift his arms up. Lift them up. So he lifts them up. He's going to turn back a little bit so he feels like his lead arm is inside of this stick. So he lifts up, turns his body, and then what I want him to do is hit the ball by moving forward, but feeling that arm staying like it's angled out away from him. Okay? And if he does that, it'll look like this. He's going to go up, turn, arm away, go through. Okay? What we will see as he goes through to do this, you can see on this shot, it is curving to the left, and our club path, if we look at it, is going to be pretty exaggerated to the right. That's 14.5. Obviously, that's really big. We wouldn't want it to be there all the time. But if we're going to actually make a change, we need to exaggerate things. So I want him moving that path out to the right. So again, let's do that one more time. He's controlling that lead arm, okay? So arms go up, turn, angled out away from him. Okay? There we go. You can see that ball is coming back. Contact, I'm not too worried about right now. All we're worried about is getting the club path correct, okay? So we get that path swinging out. Now, the problem here is if he goes through this, he will have to get the face closed. If he does not get the face closed, what will happen? He's going to hit it right. It's going to go way, way right, okay? So as Mike is doing this, what I want to see is he lifts this up. As he's coming down, this club face needs to be starting to point at the ground as he's angling out away from the ball, okay? So what I would have Mike do as a drill, we're going to do our simple little drill. Lift our arms, turn. The reason we do it like this is I don't want to bring the club back. I don't want to get what we call depth, where the club is more behind us. I don't get that by just pulling my arms back, because what happens is my arm gets pinned up against my chest and then I have to get it off. That's why you go over the top. We need to see that our arms go up and down. That's what they do in a golf swing. They go up and down mainly. They go up, my body turns, which is what gets the club back behind me. Then when I'm up here, my arm's lower, and I control the angle I want to attack into the ball. So I'd have him go up, come down, arm feels like it's going out away from him, and the club face needs to be squaring up, so he needs to be feeling that face squaring a little bit more. That's gonna start getting this ball to travel more out to the right, and it will start working its way back in as he goes. So once he does that drill, he's gonna do that drill for a little bit, he can start to blend it as he goes. He can just do a little rehearsal, feel what he's trying to do, and then from there, just try to feel, all right, when I go back, my body's turning back and my arms are lifting. Now I've got a backswing. Just go back down, control where my arm is going. Don't let my body open up where this lead arm is opening up. That's going to cause you a problem. Okay? And you'll see again, contact's not going to be the main thing. As he does that, his club path will start to come down into a more manageable area, but definitely want to see some exaggeration here as we go. Getting that ball to draw, then we can go ahead and refine it and get it to go exactly on target if we want to. But that is where I want to see Mike going as we are trying to work on this. So getting the club face, that is number one. That means you got to check your grip, you got to be on it all the time. Then you have to work on controlling it throughout the swing. Second thing is understanding how we get club path. We get club path directed where we want to go by controlling our arms, not just moving around in kind of some ways that get them in compromised positions and then they have to move to kind of make up for that. We also then learn how our body works. We have to control the movement of our body. We live in this world of just, you know, there's this kind of idea out there of spiral engine. I gotta just spiral all over the place. Not saying that there isn't spiraling going on, but when you look at really good players, they are really good at controlling it. And honestly, they have really, really good brake systems. So they're just not spiraling like crazy. They are just controlling how their body moves a little bit as they go. So again, for Mike, we want to see that club back, control his body going back, controlling that arm so he's swinging out more on the path that he wants to go, all right? If you have questions about it, I will leave that link to our video on how club path is affected by the different clubs. Make sure you check that out. Also, I'm going to link over to Carl's page, their Instagram, where Mike is documenting his journey. I want you to go check that out because he has some feedback about things that are going on. And as always, check out their stuff if you have questions about setups, any of that stuff. And make sure you check out our Scott Ogun Golf coaching and subscribe. We have our gift guide coming up. If you're looking for things that you want to get for the holidays, make sure you check that out as well. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.